We're back on a Wednesday here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, I see you. I see you trying to get some energy into this show. I see you trying to make sure that you and I do not just truck our way through 2 hours and 45 minutes, despite the fact that we just sat out in the bullpen and just dead ass sat across from each other and went, dog, I'm tired.
Nah, for real.
Why are you so tired today? I know why I'm tired.
So I got up early this morning. I want to say like 7:30. I mean, usually I get up around this time.
Hold on. 7:30 is early for you?
I mean, I go to sleep later than you also.
That's true. What's your typical to bed to rise? Like, is it consistent?
I would probably say I probably go to sleep between 12 and 1 every night.
Did you say I haven't watched the Lakers game last night? Is that
Yes,
why
I
you were
did.
up? How'd that
Even
go
though
for you?
that game was at 8 p.m., so I
It
wasn't.
was?
Yeah, it was at 8 p.m.
Oh, dang.
It just
I
wasn't
missed
on
that.
TV though.
Oh, it was a League Pass game.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was about to say, I was watching basketball last night.
yeah.
I watched Knicks Celtics, and luckily accidentally recorded it. So when I went back and turned my TV on this morning, I was like, oh, this is where I left off. Sick. Thanks for doing that, YouTube TV. So I was able to watch the overtime back and see the Knicks come up short yet again. I watched Wiz Pacers last night, but I was in bed by my usual time. So you slept, you got up early at 7:30, and then what?
And then I had put myself through what did I do today? I did back, I did buys, and then I also did abs on top of the stuff I do for my hip flexors.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes about 30 to 40 minutes. So I had to get up early so I could get both of those in, and then I had meetings this morning, so it was a lot going on.
Yeah, I had a couple of phone calls this morning, and then I did a big old workout in the middle of the day. That was a big old deadlift workout, and it's a lot of demand on the old central nervous system.
Yeah.
And I realize now that on some level is a mistake to do on a work day, because your brain needs to work to do this job. There's so much physically that can not matter. I could be sore. The mind needs to work. And it's not working right now at its peak capacity, which could wind up working out for the show because it could wind up being tremendously entertaining. My number one insights and all that stuff may not be on the docket for today's show. That's okay. We have at least one smart guest. Barry Svrluga is going to join us at 5:00. From Augusta National. Although we are not going to be talking too much Masters with Barry, we're going to continue the conversation that we had yesterday about the best DC athletes of all time, because Barry wrote about Ovechkin in the Post and how important it is that he spent all 20 years so far, 20 and counting, in DC. We're going to start today, though, talking about the NFL Draft, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow. That's right, 2 weeks from tomorrow, NFL Draft. Well, actually, Anthony, do you know this yet? Do you know that we're going live an extra hour on draft night?
This is news to me.
Oh, I presume that you're producing it. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you, and I'm extra sorry to be the one to break it to you on the air. Maybe you're not, though. Maybe, but I'll say this to the audience: I am on till 8 that night. I'm hoping Anthony's with me.
I think I probably will be.
I feel better when my guys pressing the buttons on the board.
Yes, sir.
But I will be live until 8, and then we will have live coverage with Denton and Linnell starting at 8. Simulcast, I believe, over on 106.7 The Fan as well, at least for part of the night, if not the entire night. So that is the plan for 2 weeks from tonight. But tomorrow, 2 weeks until the draft period, or actually 2 weeks from tomorrow on the draft night. Tomorrow, 2 weeks from the draft, Anthony and I are going to do our first full mock draft. You and I are going to go picks 1 through 32, first round, alternate. Do you want, we'll probably do another one next Thursday as well. Do you want to pick for the Commanders tomorrow, or do you want to pick for them next week?
Let me pick for them tomorrow.
Okay, so I will have the even picks. You will have the odd picks tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So looking forward to that. So we'll do that tomorrow on the show. As for the here and now, kind of prepping for tomorrow in some ways. In a little bit, we're going to take some of your calls on who is your guy in the NFL draft for Washington. Who's the guy that you want to see? And it can be a little pipe dreamy. Like, I mean, this, if you call and say Abdul Carter, I'm going to be like, look, there's no way that's happening. There are very few other names that I think are totally impossible. Like Travis Hunter, not fallen. Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, who everybody and their mother has mocked to the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's not fallen all the way to Washington. But, we talked to Jeremy Green about this. Jalen Walker, very, very, very divisive prospect. And if he hits a skid where a couple of the teams that might take him early decide he doesn't work for us, could he skid all the way into the 20s? Yes. So I want to know in a few minutes here who your guy is in this draft. The guy that if you're in the draft room and all of a sudden Adam Peters has made you an honorary scout for draft night, you would stand on the table, proverbially speaking, or perhaps in a Tom Cruise, Oprah, this is a very dated reference, type of way, you would stand on a couch for to say this is the guy that I want. Anthony, do you get the Tom Cruise Oprah reference?
No.
That's honestly fine. Remind me in the break to point you in the right direction.
Okay.
For a very bizarre, I don't think it's 90s. I think it's like early 2000s. My guess is this is like a 2007-ish reference. So there's that. But I think what's interesting, and then what we'll find and explore more tomorrow as we draft, is this is a weird draft in a lot of ways. It is deep in some places, very deep in some places. And in a lot of ways, it is deeper late than it is early, which I think is a confusing statement. So I'm going to try to unpack it for people, right? So to say like, oh, I love the fifth rounders more than I love the first rounders, on its face is stupid. Because if you like the fifth rounders so much, then why aren't they fourth, third, second, or first rounders? But I think you have expectations for certain guys based off where you're going to draft them. And basically what it means is there's just a bunch of dudes in that bucket that if you're looking for a defensive tackle late in this class, there are a ton of them. We're typically, number of guys that have, say, a third or fourth round grade and better. Let's say normally it's 10, 12 guys. This year there's 18 to 20. There are guys that are going to have draftable grades at defensive tackle going in the seventh, or, they're going, the 30th guy off the board in the sixth round or seventh round, where typically like maybe you're just taking a total flyer on a guy that you actually have an undrafted free agent grade on, but you kind of need a guy at that position and there's nobody else on your board with a draftable grade. So you're like, meh, okay, we'll take him. So this draft is deep at defensive tackle. It is deep at running back. There is interesting depth at wide receiver, but I think what's interesting about this is it's not because guys are getting pushed down. There's just a bunch of guys with a lot of question marks. Or take the kid Thornton out of Tennessee, wide receiver. He's 6'5". He's super fast. He is really intriguing as a prospect, but like outside of being 6'5" and super fast, he's got questionable hands. He's not a great route runner. There's all kinds of questions about him as a player. So you're like, oh, he's a fifth round type of guy. But there's a ton of guys like that and very few actual top end guys, especially at the most prime positions, right? Quarterback, Cam Ward last year, fifth quarterback off the board maybe. Now last year was also a loaded quarterback class, but certainly fourth, fifth quarterback off the board, maybe third. Penix obviously winds up going top 10 as the fourth guy, but probably he's going at between Penix and Bo Nix. Maybe he's even worse on some boards. Certainly on some boards, he's worse than Bo Nix. This year, if Shedeur Sanders doesn't go second to Cleveland or third to New York, next guy, like ninth to the Saints, if they decide they don't want him, like Shedeur Sanders could fall into the 20s. He might be there for Pittsburgh to take without trading up at 21. And if they don't take him, someone's going to have to trade back into the end of the first round. So, quarterback, edge, outside of Abdul Carter, there's a ton of questions about these guys. We can run through some of the edge guys in a second because Dane Brugler just put out the Beast today, so we can run through his edge rankings and kind of the why some of these guys have major question marks. Some of them are on field, some of them are off the field. And then wide receiver, same thing. Tet McMillan, Anthony, big kid out of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, he's fine. Last year, you had Neighbors, Harrison Jr., Adunze, on down the list. This year, like McMillan, first-round grade, but like Matthew Golden, a guy that is super intriguing from a trait standpoint, his tape and his production don't really match up, and he might be a top 15 pick. So it's just a bizarre draft. And, we were talking before the show how lucky the Commanders are that they were bad and had good picks and a lot of picks last year, because this year, if you're trying to add top flight talent, this just isn't the draft for you. And surely some guys will wind up working out. And maybe it's the guy Washington takes at 29. Maybe they take some guy and he turns out to be a stud, because while you would definitely get more studs at the top of the draft, we have random guys from all over all the rounds pop all the time. But by the same token, this is just a bizarre offseason. And I guess it's something we're going to talk about later in the show. The free agency class was also good. It's just kind of a bad year on paper, at least it seems right now. It seemed like a bad year to need to get better. And luckily the Commanders did a lot of getting better last offseason, and we'll see next year if the free agent class and or the draft class is a lot better, more appealing. But it's definitely something that is going to, I think, play out on draft night in ways that are unexpected. Some guys are going to go way higher. Some guys are going to drop. And that's going to be perceived based off of the media mock drafts, because that's all we have. And the reality is there's just not that big of a difference between the 15th best player and the 40th best player in this particular draft. But coming up next, we'll talk a little bit more about the edge class. We'll look at Dane Brugler's list. And then starting at 4:30, we will take a look at some of the mocks, and we will get your calls on who's your guy in this NFL draft. 301-230-0980. You can start getting in line on the phones now, and we will take a look at the edges in a little bit more depth next on the Team 980. Tomorrow on Take Command, the one and only Dane Brugler, the Athletics NFL draft analyst and author of The Beast, which is available now on the Athletics website. Anthony, not only is it available now, I believe it is available to the entire public. Typically, everything in the Athletic is behind a paywall because Anthony, I'm a story time with your pal Craig here, your old friend. Back in the day, the way you got news was in a newspaper. Did you know that?
Yes.
Do you know how you got a newspaper?
Mailman would, come past your crib and throw it at your house.
But did you automatically get one?
You said, did you automatically get it?
Yeah, it's just because you lived in the area, did you get a Washington Post thrown at your door?
Well, I didn't. At Georgetown Prep, I did, though.
The correct answer is no, someone pays for it. At Georgetown Prep, it was the school.
Yeah.
But your parents, if they got the Post, it's because they paid a subscription. They don't just throw it at your door. So the Athletic is a website that was like, hey, in order for us to survive, even though the internet decided to stupidly give away all the things we used to charge people for free and then try to put the toothpaste back in the tube, unlike your good friends on the radio who've always been free, their subscription. But there's certain things that they don't put behind the paywall, and they this year decided that the Beast is going to be live for everyone. So if you would like to check out the Beast, it is available now. It's literally nytimes.com/athletics/the-beast/2025. Nobody's going to remember that, but it's on its own microsite, and the athletic.com has a direct link to it. But the Beast, why it is such a big deal in the draft community is not only is it Dane's top 100 rankings, but they also have every piece of information you could possibly want. So I just pulled up Dane's edge rushers, and he has prospect, school, grade, year, height, weight, 40, 10-yard split, hand, arm, or hand size, arm length, wingspan, their exact age. So you know which prospects are a little younger, which prospects are a little older. And then if you click on one, so here's Dane's top 10 edges, by the way. Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Mykel Williams, Donovan Ezaraku, James Pierce Jr., JT Tuamalo, Landon Jackson, Jordan Birch. I will also shout out the next three. Jack Sawyer, Ohio State. Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. I think he's a legit prospect for Washington at 29. I would also not be totally shocked, although this one I think is rich, but Olu Oladejo from UCLA. A lot of people think he's one of the best pass rushers, like pure pass rushers in this draft, but a little bit undersized, 6 foot 260, as opposed to a guy like Jordan Birch, for instance, the kid out of Oregon who's 280. So you're talking about a younger, more mobile body type. But the guy that I like the most on this list probably is Ezaraku, of the guys that reasonably could be available for Washington. He's 248, Jalen Walker 243. So I'm not necessarily afraid of a lighter edge, and I'll explain why in a second. But those are the rankings for Dane at the edge position. And we got to take a mailbag question that I thought was really interesting, Anthony, that actually we're going to probably wind up answering in our special edition mailbag on Monday with John Keim, because Logan's out next week, and so Keim's going to step in and do a mailbag with me, and he's a good person to ask this. Do you think Washington, if given the choice between, let's say the choices are like Landon Jackson or James Pierce Jr., so these are two guys, or are they two? Let's just go. Dane's got a second round grade on both, so we're gonna pretend this is a style question, not a person question, right? So if you out there listening, watch your tape or read whatever, and you have a strong feeling about Jackson or Pierce Jr., forget that for a second. James Pierce Jr. is a pass rusher. Landon Jackson is more of a fight hard, edge center, play his face off kind of guy. Which type of edge do you think they are more inclined to go to in this draft? The pure pass rush juice guy or the hard edge setter guy?
I mean, it's a little tough just because this free agency, they spent a lot of time trying to address, stopping the run. So we have some bigger edge defenders, I don't think we have a lot of quick twitch guys. I mean, I would say you got Dorrance, and then you got Javonte Jean-Baptiste. Like, those are probably like the two.
But I don't even think those guys are not like super twitched up.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say.
And
But
Jean-Baptiste is much more of like a big
probably those
body.
two.
Yeah, I mean, well, they got the kid. Oh God, Jacob Martin out of Purdue.
Okay.
So he's like 250 pounds. He's twitchy and is more of a pass rush guy. But outside of that, like the Dante Fowler replacement is not there. Martin certainly is not that. Like Fowler is a much more accomplished player and pass rusher than Martin. Martin might not even make the team. We'll see. I tend to think they go that direction. You could tell me that they go the other direction. They're like, look, maybe it's like they look at a guy like Landon Jackson and they're like, the floor is so high because he plays so hard that we know, like, none of these guys are multi-year guys. We need more of them, and we need someone we can count on in the long term, and we'll continue our hunt for a pass rusher. And in the meantime, we'll try to generate pressure with blitzes and things like that. And plus, how much is a rookie really going to move the needle in year one? But this is the problem with picking 29th is, like, could Abdul Carter do both? Sure. Can anybody else on this list truly do both? Jalen Walker, not really. Shamar Stewart's interesting because he's a little bit bigger. He's 6'1.5", 267. So we're talking about a guy who's almost 270, probably could easily get to 275 pounds, but athletic profile-wise, pretty explosive. The dude had a 1.58 10-yard split, 4.59 40-yard dash. Like that's really explosive. He also, I think he had a huge broad jump, if I'm remembering correctly. Now, I don't think he's going to be available at 29, but like we'll see. Come on, the beast. I need you to load. We can't have a slow beast. Pretend he had a great broad jump, and we know the explosive get-off is there, but his production in college like wasn't great as a pass rusher. So it's just hard picking at 29. You're probably going to have to make that choice, and I think that is kind of the challenge here. But that gets to, I think, the question whether it's an edge or another position. Who's your guy in this draft? Who's the guy that you are dying to see on the board at 29 for the Washington Commanders to select? 301-230-0980 is the phone number, 301-230-0980. We're taking your calls next here on The Hoffman Show. 301-230-0980 is the phone number, 301-230-0980. Who's your guy that you want to see on the clock for Washington in the 2025 NFL Draft 2 weeks from tomorrow? By the way, before we get into ours, we have a very eventful first inning down the street at Nats Park, Anthony. Have you been keeping an eye on this?
I have indeed.
Nats gave up 4 in the top of the first. Started off with a Shohei Ohtani single for the Dodgers. He and 3 of his mates came around ultimately go to the bottom of the first at 4-0. And then C.J. Abrams opened things up with a solo dinger for the Nats. And now the Nats have 2 on, runners on second and third with 1 out. Sacrifice hit with no outs and the bases loaded. And now that's turned into runners on second and third and a 4-2 game with 1 out in the bottom of the first. So keep you updated on everything going on with the Nats. But for now, NFL Draft Talk with you at 301-230-0980. Anthony, I'm not going to limit this just to edge rushers, although we talked about them previously. So who's the guy for you that I'm like, we come in here on Friday, April 25th, and you're like, man, I am so jacked. The Commanders drafted, insert player here.
So the Commanders on their every Monday, they do a mock draft. And the last guy
they highlight a mock draft. They're like their content team doesn't do it. They highlight one that someone else has done, which I feel like is important just for like unless you're talking about like I don't think Logan and them do it for
nah.
They just like will say, oh, hey, let's highlight ESPN's mock draft today. So this is not like the team doing a mock. This is their content department picking a mock that they want to write about.
Well, the last mock that they wanted to write about, they mentioned Shamar Stewart, and he has a few things that concerns me just because we've taken a player in the first round. Granted, it was different regimes, but we've taken a player in the first round with little production on the field, hoping that he has a higher ceiling than what he was at in college, and that was in Jamin Davis. And this guy, Shamar Stewart, he doesn't have a lot of production at Texas A&M. So that's the only thing that concerns me. But the fact that he's 6'5", 6'6"?
He's 6'5",
yeah,
267 pounds.
He's a big dude. He's athletic, runs a 4.5. So he has the athletic capabilities, like on paper anyway.
So totally agree. We did a list on the previous edition of Take Command on Monday, and I think we actually played, this part of the podcast on the show, right, on this show, of the sprint to the podium guys. We're like, if this guy's still available, you run to the podium. And Shamar Stewart was on Logan's list. So he's a three-year player, really 1-year starter. He did start 6 games as a freshman. But was more of a replacement type of guy. Last year, he was a bona fide starter. 31 tackles, 5.5 for a loss in 12 games, 1.5 sacks. But here's the thing about him and the sack numbers. He led Texas A&M in pressures with 39. So it's one of those where you look a little deeper into the stats and or you watch the tape and you go, oh, we got way more production here than we thought. It just doesn't necessarily turn into sacks. But sacks is a number that goes up and down. Pressures tends to be something that's a little more consistent, and he is certainly disruptive. If you look at the athletic testing, freak. 6'5", 267, 34 and an eighth inch arms. Measured. I love the different arm measurements, by the way. 34 and an eighth. At the combine, 34 and 3/8 on the pro day. So he's got long arms, which really allows you to push out on that edge. He's got a 40-inch vertical and a nearly 11-foot. He's 10'11" on the broad jump. That is super explosive as an athlete. If you look at Dane's scouting report, Rare athletic balance and fluidity for a guy at his size. Explosive off the ball with flexibility to turn the corner and flatten. Uses long arms and natural power to stab and separate from initial blocks. Able to shake free with a cross chop, club rip, or a variety of different swipes. So this dude has range, both in his athleticism and his moves. He has got rare, like unteachable type of size. Played pretty well against the run, but weaknesses. Major finishing issue, 26.9% missed tackle rate in college. Struggles to break down on the move and stay under control as a tackler. Too many flyby misses. Move-to-move sequencing as a pass rusher is still in the development phase. Can get caught upright at times and spends too much time hand fighting, leaving him late to react to the run. And basement-level sack production, 4.5 sacks on 680 career pass rush snaps. So this is the type of guy that if you are looking as a Commander's coach, specifically if you're Dan Quinn and you have a defensive line background, you have to understand who he is as a dude, what kind of work ethic he has, and how coachable he is. Because if you look at some of that stuff and you look at, say, the inability to break down and the flybys and all of that stuff, and you go, we know how to coach that. We're actually good at coaching tackling here. It's something that we focus on from a fundamentals. And if we think that some of those same issues are why he doesn't have the sack production, but the thing that we can't teach is size, speed, bend. Like ability to get pressure, knack for getting pressure, but we can help you with the finish, then Shamar Stewart could be the steal of this draft. If that's just who he is, or you don't feel like you can have that breakthrough with him, he's going to be the kind of tantalizing potential that makes you wanting more his entire rookie contract, then ultimately decide not to re-sign him to a second one.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with our coaching staff, I think he's sort of kind of fits perfectly just because I trust this coaching staff, coach up a guy, develop a guy. Even though, him being sort of kind of a project scares me a bit. So
for sure. So my guy that I want is also a pass rusher, but he is, I want to say opposite. But this is a guy that has a ton of production. I'll tell you who it is next, and we'll take your calls as well. Who's your guy in the 2025 NFL Draft that you want to see on the board for the Commanders? 301-230-0980. We take your calls next, but first a look at what's trending. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Barry Svrluga coming up at 5 o'clock, talking about there's no real main story today, just kind of the main story of the week. Alex Ovechkin, he made history on Sunday. Barry wrote about it in the Washington Post, and specifically Alex's place in DC sports history, something we talked about quite a bit yesterday on the show. So we are going to dive into that with Barry coming up at 5 o'clock, plus a few thoughts on the Masters and what he's watching, as he's actually going to be joining us from Augusta. But Anthony, we're talking about our guys in this NFL draft, the player that I would really like to see on the board for Washington. And we're using Dane Brugler's The Beast to guide us as it came out this morning. Again, Dane will be on Take Command tomorrow, and we will have that interview for you tomorrow here on the radio show, probably at 5 o'clock if we're being frank. Obviously, we'll be taping it in the morning, so we might need to move it around, but probably 5 o'clock tomorrow, Dane Brugler here on the Hoffman Show. But I think my guy that I've settled on going into this draft is maybe the purest pass rusher in it. That doesn't necessarily mean the best. It doesn't necessarily mean that this guy's going to have the best career, the best sack production, whatever. But if I'm being realistic about the 29th pick, and I want a guy that I know can get after the passer, I don't know how much better they're going to be able to do than Donovan Ezaraku, the Boston College edge. He's 6'3", 248. He's got a ton of experience, despite the fact that he's not like an older player. He's a natural senior, so he's 21 and a half years old. Will turn 22 later this year. 3-year starter at BC. He was an outside player in their scheme, lining up mostly standing up, but occasionally with his hand in the dirt. But like 99.7% of his snaps coming off the tackle as a 7 or 9 technique. So we're talking about a true wide player. So think about when Frankie Louvu would line up as an edge player last year. Now make that Donovan Ezaraku. He led the team in sacks and tackles for loss as a sophomore and a junior, and then became the 13th consensus All-American in school history as a senior, finished top 3 in the FBS in both sacks and tackles for loss. So we're talking about a guy, Anthony, that is he as explosive as your guy, Shamar Stewart, for instance? No. He had a foot shorter on the broad jump. Stewart had a 40-inch vertical. Ezaraku 20 or 35 and a half. He does have super long arms. He's 34-inch arms, and he's got a big old wingspan. But this is a guy that is really, really good in terms of the production and knowing how to make the most of what he's got. Strengths, according to Brugler's report: bendy athlete with disproportionately long arms, accelerates well around the arc with impressive body dip. Go-to move is a jab step with a slap cross chop to pry open the rush lane. Uses length to chop down and erase blocking hands. Explosive laterally to sidestep and maneuver around roadblocks. On down the list. 2-year team captain with strong football character. He's durable. Started 36 straight games before the bowl game this year, which he decided to opt out of. Led FBS in sacks per game and took home the award as the nation's top defensive end. His weaknesses: below average height with a very light frame. Again, he's only 6'3", 248. Needs to get stronger in both his upper and lower halves to better match up against NFL linemen. Doesn't have power in his hands to move blockers with the bull rush, and needs to develop a more effective low side counter when transitioning off his long arm move. So he's, I won't say he's a one-trick pony, but certainly a lot of his game comes from this very unique build with the very long arms and the ability to dip the corner. And my thing with him at 29, the reason I'm psyched about him is I know exactly who he is. You know, some of these other guys that maybe have more upside athletically, what are they? Are they guys that I want to use against the run? Are they pass rush guys? Are they just kind of meh at both? And thus, like, are they actually best as like a rotational defensive end and a guy that we just put out there when our starters aren't great? Whereas Ezaraku, I go, you are playing pass rush situations. I hope that you can grow and you get, you add 10, 15 pounds over the next couple of years, and some of that length and everything, your feel for the game that you have as a pass rusher, we can use against the run and make you an every down starter. But if you are a rotational player who I know is 100% in on pass rush situations, and I can line up over the edge, or even maybe occasionally move inside and give a different look to a not very good guard or center. But I know you're a premier pass rusher. I know what to do with that if I'm Dan Quinn and I'm Joe Witt. And I think that's the thing that's appealing to me about him is I know exactly who he is. I know exactly what he's capable of, and I'm not going to ask him to do the stuff that he's not good at. And that thing that he is good at is exactly what I need right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's, terrible having situational pass rushers. Even looking at what the coach did last year, they took Leatu Latu, 14 overall last year, and pretty much his role last year was coming in on third down, being able to put pressure on the quarterback. So to get him at 29, considering what we already have up front, and I feel like, yes, he is 248 right now. When you go to the next level, just like when, college athletes start out in high school, when they get to college, they're putting on 15, 20, 30. Like, they get bigger and bigger. So I'm assuming that, he's going to bulk up. He's going to put on some weight so he can become an all-around defensive end. But right now, for what we need you to do, sir, go out there, put your hand in the dirt, get to the quarterback on third downs.
And the other thing is you're betting on the character. You're betting on a guy who has a pretty interesting pedigree. This is from the background portion of Dane's report here. A 3-star recruit, Ezaraku was the 132nd ranked linebacker in the 2021 recruiting class and the number 23 recruit in New Jersey. He didn't have any recruiting stars following his junior season, but his recruitment started to pick up steam with offers from FCS schools Holy Cross, Stony Brook, and Wagner, and Ivy League programs such as Harvard and Princeton. Ezaraku received his first FBS offers in May of 2020 from Northern Illinois, Old Dominion, and nearby Temple, followed by his first then Power 5 offers from BC and Vanderbilt. He was unable to go on visits because of the pandemic, but he took a chance and committed to Boston College and head coach Jeff Hafley. Ezaraku was the 22nd ranked recruit out of 26 in Hafley's 2021 class. He graduated with a degree. Ezaraku opted out of the bowl game and accepted his invitation to the Senior Bowl. So this is a guy that, was not heralded as a recruit. He had to earn it. And it's something that, remember last year we talked about this with their draft class? This just kind of popped back into my head. They took a bunch of guys who had to prove something. And Ezaraku fits that mold. This is a fun exercise. I got to write this down. Remind me to write this down on my question list for Brugler tomorrow. Who are the prove-it guys in this draft, right? Jaden Daniels starts at Arizona State, transfers to LSU with zero promise of becoming the starter, goes there, proves it, Heisman Trophy, second overall pick. We saw what he was as a rookie. Sainristil still he switches positions in college. Brandon Coleman, late to football, junior college kid, had to earn it. On down the list, they like guys who weren't necessarily the top recruit in the class. And this is a guy in Ezaraku who, his first D1 FBS offers were Ivy League schools. So he's not that always translates to football intelligence, but clearly you're talking about a really smart guy and a guy who was could have apparently gotten into some pretty elite academic institutions. But he's in Boston College's recruiting class. He's the 22nd or 21st or 22nd of 26 guys. And he winds up being a 2-time team captain and consensus All-American. That fits the Commanders' profile in terms of what they want. And then the question is, does he fit athletically what they want? And do they think the way that I'm thinking about this, that we know what we need and that this guy is what we need on the defensive line right now? So just something to think about, something to ponder. And I'm excited to talk to Brugler tomorrow about that. Again, Dane will be on with us on Take Command. That will be out in your podcast feed as soon as we can get it up middle of the day. So we're talking to him in the morning. Also on Take Command tomorrow, Logan has put together his big board, and we'll go through the process of how he went into that. And then we will play the Brugler interview for you tomorrow here on the radio show. When we get back here on the Team 980, Barry Svrluga joins us from Augusta National. We'll talk a little bit of Masters, but more so talk about his column, talking about the greatest athletes in DC sports history and why Alex Ovechkin holds a very unique place in the history of DC sports. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. More Commanders talk coming at 5:30. Dave Johnson joins us at 6 o'clock. 6:15, we look ahead to what really, I guess it's what Dallas should expect from Luka tonight, what Luka should expect from Dallas. Great story today in The Athletic about some of the behind the scenes of that trade that, still the layers are being uncovered and reported on. So we'll talk about all that later in the show. Right now, though, today's top story, if you will, is really the week's top story, which is Alex Ovechkin breaks Wayne Gretzky's record on Sunday. And then we have all the conversations about what it means throughout the rest of the week. To join us to do that, let's bring in one of DC's best sports scribes for today's edition of Not My Beat.
Today's top story. Perspective, someone who's there.
You are looking live.
By beat.
Joining us actually the National, where he'll be covering this weekend for the Washington Post. But Barry, we're not going to about golf too much. I want to talk to you about something that we topped up on the show in the column on the heels of Ovechkin's record breaking this weekend, which is who is the greatest / most important DC sports athlete of all time. Your column specifically, the fact that Ovechkin has played his entire career in DC. And if we kind of dive into the options in your answer to the kind of the GOAT question, if you will, would you want to write about Ovechkin? Do you want loyalty or loyalty shown to him? What about it stuck out to you so much?
Yeah, I mean, two ways, Ted Leonsis had to initially do a 13-year extension for Ovechkin when he was a couple of years away from free agency. And that's the kind of thing that, it obviously strikes me that the Nationals have not done with Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, have not been able to keep a lot of their homegrown stars. And then if you cast it against the hockey players who Ovechkin kind of methodically passed on his way to eventually passing Gretzky, these guys played for multiple teams. Gretzky played for 4, Jaromir Jagr played for 9, Phil Esposito played for 3, and it just got me thinking that, here's a guy who spent all of his 20 years in one town. And not only that, really, he didn't do this in Toronto or Montreal or even Chicago or Detroit. He did it in a market in a city that had a hockey team for 30 years, didn't have deep hockey roots, and he really, really changed the sport in the nation's capital. Starting in 2008 when they made a real run to the playoffs under Boudreau, they had 588 straight sellouts in the regular season and playoffs. He just transformed it in a way that I don't think you see from many athletes. And I think he's kind of in a unique position, not only in Washington, but in hockey, just because he meant so much to building a sport in a specific place.
So we talked about this on the show, as I mentioned yesterday. Actually tacked on, we do a week, I should say, a game day hit with Dave Johnson. And I tacked on that question to the end because Dave has been covering this town. He said he thought because he based in DC. Some of the other names that came up, obviously Walter Johnson, Sammy Baugh, Joe Green, I think was the guy that I ultimately settled on as my answer. I think the perspective of what Ovi's done for hockey in this town and potentially is hard to overstate. But if you think of most important athletes in DC history, combining their on and off field, both achievements and impact, how do you think up those 4 guys? Anyone else who immediately comes to mind?
Yeah, so I think Darryl Green to me is the Redskin / Commander that stands out the most because I think it was 21 seasons, and then you're talking that all in that uniform, all in burgundy and gold, and you're talking about an era in which they were winning championships, in which they were by far the biggest force in town, and he was playing at a level in discussion with, was he the greatest cornerback of all time? So he stands out to me for sure. For Johnson, can I look at the best baseball card and see how important he was and how long he played here. And yes, he also only did it in Washington. Like that matters, but I don't have like a personal visceral reaction to that. It's so distant that it seems like almost fictional. But Hall of Famer, 511 career wins, all for the Senators before the 2019 World Series for the Nationals. The Senators' 1924 series title was the last baseball championship in town, so that's definitely a factor. I'll throw a couple of weird ones at you. I think that Ryan Zimmerman deserves a place in the conversation, not because he's a Hall of Fame player, he's not, but he did some things that helped the Nationals establish a foundation when they needed a foundation to be established. He twice signed extensions here to make sure he finished his or was going to be here for the bulk of his career. He ended up tacking on a couple of one-year deals at the end to secure it. But he's the first draft pick in team history. He stayed through the build. He was here for the winning. He finished with a championship. I think that's a weirdly influential one because his career is not as great. And I also think there's an odd one in Max Scherzer because he came from someplace else to pursue a title here. That is something that hasn't happened for very many people. I choose Scherzer over Jason Worth because his impact is just greater. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He probably, as a National, he chose to sign here for 7 years and $210 million. I think he had a big impact on that franchise, ultimately a part of the 2019 World Series champs as well.
Barry Svrluga with us here on the Hoffman Show. Barry's column in the Post. You can read it at WashingtonPost.com. Sports, probably on Alex Ovechkin's 20-year run here in D.C. And exactly the right word, culminating to this with the 895th career goal on Sunday in New York. Obviously, we're hoping it culminates with at least one more victory as they're in first place in the Eastern Conference right now. If you look at Barry, you mentioning a couple of Nats names made me think of this. Who are some of the big ifs when we talk about most influence? I think Ross and Harper from mine on the Nats side of it. To an throw John Wall in the conversation. Would you obviously Robert Griffin III might be the ultimate answer to this question. But if you think of DC history's what ifs, that at some point early on, that guy's going to be in the conversation that we're actually having about Ovechkin, Darryl Green, etc. Ultimately does not. Who are those names for you?
You hit on a bunch of them. I definitely think Harper, because if he had signed and they offered him, quite a bit of money to do so, he could have been a Nat for life, and that would have, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and to do that in one uniform would have been really cool. Strasburg, for the opposite reason, he did sign the extensions here and then immediately broke down. So crossed career there. RG3, I think you're right, is kind of almost the ultimate one, but I'd throw Kirk Cousins in there too, because while by now he's had kind of an itinerant career, maybe he'll end up on his fourth team coming. If they had not just tagged him and worked out an extension, we used to pick apart his game week to week, drive to drive. There's no guarantees what would have happened, but who knows? I mean, he was an extremely consistent quarterback who put up some pretty ridiculous statistical numbers. If he had stuck around and they had proper team building around him, I think he falls into that what if category. And then, the Wall Beal combo and Gilbert Arenas, honestly, no handguns, what's the outcome with the Wizards there? I mean, if you talk about a Stark franchise, that might be the one in town that qualifies in that category the most. And those three names, Gilbert, Bradley Beal, and John Wall, for different reasons, injuries with Wall mostly, they fall in as big time what ifs. And then I really don't think the Caps can have a what if, because the guys from this era, even Backstrom and Oshie, who are finishing their career unable to play and fulfill their contracts, they were here for the cup. They got it done. So their what if guys go way, way back to an era that we're not living in anymore.
Yeah, it's fun with Gilbert, Robert specifically, because I look what happened to them. Part of it is also supposed to be substantial. With a guy like Strauss, it's his body has failed him. The very things that made him great days are the things that destroyed him. The that elbow and that arm that came with that. With Cousins, he was under the wrong administration. Like, clearly Griffin was far more talented. There's some with the ego and whatever person, however else you want to categorize that I don't know if he's somewhere else that it ultimately works out. Where Cousins, you're like, yeah, the Kirk's problem was he's competent and like a real, and he was playing, category of being Snyder were. Does that impact how you thought about that at all, of the guys that they were more circumstantial? Is the self-imposed tantalizing talent, if you will?
Yeah, it does. And again, if, Kirk obviously has his supporters and his detractors, but what we don't know is what he would have been like if he was fully developed in a normal environment. I mean, obviously when he got to Minnesota and had, a ridiculously good wide receiver and put up some insane numbers. We also know that he didn't go deep in the playoffs. He didn't reach an NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
I think the what ifs are, what if his whole career was under a normal regime that developed him and developed the roster around him properly? And I think you're right about Griffin. The injury was the beginning of the downfall, but he clearly contributed to his own downfall with, I think what you would say is almost like insubordination and, insubordination with coaching, but also enabling by ownership is just like a deathly crossfire there. Like that clearly impacted his career here. Those fall into that category for me.
Barry Svrluga with us for another minute or two here. Hoffman. Last thing on this, Barry, and then I thought going into the weekend down in Augusta as Barry's the match. We talk about Ovechkin, though, to bring it back to where we started. How do you feel like we've done as a sports town? There are some cities like Boston that have been lucky, multiple guys that come through that are the top 5, top 10 players in their sport. But like votes of the game, have the discussion with that player, your Birds, etc. But for DC, like Ovechkin's guy, Wes Unseld's in the Hall of Fame, but he's talking about basketball player all the time and mentioning Wes Unseld unless they're talking about lip passers. For Ovechkin, you can't have the conversation without him to the extent that you have it about anyone that's not Gretzky. So what do you think that's ultimately meant to DC, and how do you think DC has appreciated and reacted to that over this 20 years?
So I think it's just incredibly important that he did this having won a Stanley Cup championship, because but that would have been there and almost would have defined the chase for Gretzky, didn't come up because he won the title the one year, and they have had excellent teams that had big letdowns in the playoffs before, and there were times when Alex Ovechkin was taking heat for being part of so many letdowns because he couldn't push through. He couldn't be the leader that led them through. So I think it's all colored in appreciation, not because of what he ended up doing individually, but because they won one title together. And I also think it matters that he's doing it on a really good team that has legitimate aspirations of doing the same thing again. I thought at some point that if he got this record, it was going to be a slog and he was going to have to be dragged to it because the team last year struggled to score. He struggled to score. I give the front office of Brian McClellan and Chris Patrick just an enormous amount of credit to create a roster that allowed their all-time franchise icon to pursue a hallowed record with like joy and success around him, not in a way where it's like, well, we kind of have to stick with this guy for 2 more years and hopefully score 42 goals over those seasons, and then we can get on to the rebuild that needs to happen. Like they rebuilt it on the fly and allowed it to happen on a team that the town can appreciate and really look forward to going forward. So I think the two-pronged kind of answer is like, I think he gets the due appreciation because he won the cup once and because this is happening in a team structure where each one of his 42 goals this year has helped a very good team be the best version of itself.
I think that's really well said. All right, Barry, this weekend you're about to box so you can go watch some golf. Works at Augusta, but what are big storylines? Who are the big players that you're watching that you think have a real shot to win in this thing, or the storyline that's intriguing to you?
I mean, I'm going to say start with the obvious. I mean, Rory McIlroy comes here for the 12th time with needing a Masters victory to secure the career Grand Slam, and he has disappointed himself and disappointed his fans here a million times over because he's good enough to win and he just hasn't done it. So a lot of eyes there. He's playing so well. He won in Pebble Beach, and even the players at Sawgrass, two of the bigger tournaments in the run up to Augusta. And Scottie Scheffler, who's won 2 out of the past 3, number 1 player in the world, is not quite been his sharpest early part of the season, but betting against him here is a difficult choice. And then I'd also say, well, people aren't talking about the kind of LIV PGA Tour divide maybe as much as they had in the past couple of years. There's a real curiosity about how those best LIV players, Jon Rahm, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau in particular, we really don't have a good way to evaluate how they're playing coming into this because we haven't figured out the LIV format and, what does it demand of players, and are they getting properly tested before the year's first major? So that would be the kind of side storyline that I would watch on Thursday's first round. Like, can those LIV guys hang with these PGA Tour players who have been facing off against each other for months and not just having an occasional tournament around the globe?
Yeah, not to mention the stamina of playing holes, and you mentioned that grind. If you just haven't had it, do you have it? The focus for all 4 rounds. Barry, read his coverage /sports as well as the column on Ovechkin. Barry, always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you very much, and enjoy the Masters.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.
Hey, this is Barry Svrluga with us here on the Hoffman Show. Again, his column, WashingtonPost.com/sports. Got an email in the inbox earlier today from our central team who's in charge of all of our podcasts. Anthony, I don't know if you know this. Take Command has a lot of cousins or brothers and sisters, depending on how you want to look. Would it be like other football podcasts or brothers and sisters, and then like the baseball podcasts are the cousins? Or like is Bustin' Loose Baseball our brother, and then everyone else is the cousin?
I think Bustin' Loose is the cousin for real, and everybody else is
the football ones are the brother and and sister and okay, whatever. However we want to sort that out, I don't really care. But our Bills podcast, One Bills Drive, excellent show. We've actually had their hosts on before when the Commanders and Bills have faced off, or there's been other news out of Buffalo that is relevant to us down here in D.C. But they had the NFL's vice president of like future programming, like schedule planning, basically on the show. And one of the games that he is most intrigued by for 2025 is a Commanders rematch from last season. So let's take a look at that and how likely it is that the Commanders, or what are the most likely games that the Commanders will have in prime time in 2025? Because after the draft here in 2 weeks, like 2 weeks later, the schedule comes out. So we're almost at schedule season. Alert Kevin Sheehan for the mock schedule. So we'll take a listen and a look at that next here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too, at the Team 980. Coming up at 6 p.m., our pal Dave Johnson joins us. Luka's returned to Dallas. He's in the building. That we know. I've seen him enter. What's going to happen when he takes the court tonight? We will talk about it coming up about 6:15. Right now, though, earlier today on our Buffalo Bills podcast here at Odyssey Sports, Odyssey, our parent company, we own the best sports stations in America. We also have some of the best podcasts in America. But our Buffalo Bills podcast, our colleagues up in Western New York, they had a very interesting guest on, and the Commander's name wound up coming out of this guest's mouth. The NFL's Vice President of Broadcast Planning, Mike North, was on One Bills Drive, I believe is the name of that show. And he talked about, as you'll hear the question here, one of his favorite moments of last year as the NFL is putting together their league schedule for this year. And Anthony, I think you remember this moment well.
I might.
Yeah, all of you out there, you remember this moment well. Here's the question and the answer.
To be a bit more reflective, kind of going off of what Sal's question was, what was your favorite game of last year? The game that you said, man, we hit a home run there.
As I look back, I'll give you, maybe it's not my favorite game, but I'll give you kind of a linchpin game from last year. Chicago, Washington. I think it was week 6. And it was that Hail Mary game at the end, right? I think both teams might have been 4-2, or somebody was 4-2 and somebody was 4-1. And if you think about that Hail Mary, 95% of Hail Marys hit the ground and no harm, no foul. That one hits the ground. Chicago's 5-2. And who knows what that division looks like, and who knows what Caleb does the rest of the way. And Washington maybe is reeling a little bit, and maybe they don't steal a couple of those close wins that they ended up getting. It really ended up sending both of those teams' seasons in totally different directions. And now we're sitting here again heading into 2025. We do have another Chicago-Washington game to play with. So play it early, kind of a reminder of last year's Hail Mary, save it for a little bit later. You think both of those teams are going to be competitive. You do it on a Sunday night, a Monday night, a Thursday night. You have so many options for a game like that. And then you multiply that really by all 272. I'm not sure what my favorite game is for this year yet.
Man, that game, again, we could just use that as an excuse to talk about the Hail Mary and just relive it in all its glory. But I think this year, Anthony, they're going to be looking to put the Commanders in prime time or in that 4 o'clock window as often as possible. And it feels like a Caleb-Jaden rematch is kind of a no-brainer until you remember that there's limits on the number of primetime games that teams can have. And the rest of the Commanders' schedule, almost every game is going to wind up you could make an argument, could wind up in prime time. Like, and especially depending on when they are in the season. Like, some of these are probably more likely only if it's late season matchups. But if we had to do a draft of, I'm now mad that I thought about this. Part of me wants to do this. Anthony, should we do a draft of primetime games? And you get like a point for each one. And whoever gets the most points wins.
In terms of, we'll pick, and then when the schedule
comes out, we count up the points. Because here's the potential. Here's all their home and away opponents. At home, they've got the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Bears, Lions, Broncos, Raiders, and Seahawks. Away, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, of course, Packers, Chiefs, Chargers, Vikings, Dolphins, Falcons.
Dang.
like 12 of those games, 13, 14 of those games, I could make a really strong argument that they could be primetime games. And that's before you get the potential for international games. Here's the international schedule as well. One, the Commanders have not played internationally since the London game in 2016 against the Bengals. So they won't be a potential Jags opponent in Wembley. They also will not be a potential Browns opponent at Tottenham. They also avoid the Jets. So they're not going to be going to London. They're not going to be going to Dublin, where the Steelers are going to be playing. However, they could play the Dolphins in Madrid at Bernabeu, which is Real Madrid Stadium. And then you could also have, let's see, is that the only one? Sao Paulo. The Chargers are playing. This is going to probably be the Friday week 1 game. And while the Chargers are probably one of the teams that I would put down the bottom of the this is possible to be in primetime list, I could definitely see it because of the the fact that these two teams kind of have mirror seasons last year, surprisingly making the playoffs in year 1 of a new coach. Herbert, Daniels, there's enough there. And the Chargers, who else are the Chargers going to play? The Commanders, it's not, this game is already a primetime game. And so if you're looking at the Commanders' schedule, the Chargers aren't going to have a more high-profile opponent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it's not like, they wouldn't waste one of the Commanders' primetime games on the Dolphins, all due respect. But when the Dolphins are playing in Madrid and they want to have a premier opponent, or the Chargers are playing in Sao Paulo and they want them to have a premier opponent, I think one of those two games could definitely be a Commanders game. Nevertheless, the obvious of Daniels versus Mahomes, Chiefs, Commanders at Arrowhead on a Monday night.
I mean, the Chargers could play the Chiefs, a divisional.
They could.
To start the season off. You got the face of the league. He wants to bounce back as well.
For sure. And, it's the first time that the Chiefs haven't opened up on that Thursday in a couple of years. The possible opponents are the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Texans, the Colts, the Steelers. They say the Eagles, but there's no way because the Eagles are going to open up on Thursday.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the Commanders and the Vikings. And by the way, the Eagles could be, even though it would be a home game and just a regular primetime game, the Eagles-Commanders week 1 could absolutely be the NFL's opener.
Man. Like the way you think, Craig.
So Commanders, Vikings. I feel like that the Texans playoff rematch, that could definitely be a thing. That to me feels
Texans
more
who?
likely. Texans, Chargers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or they could send the Chiefs down there. Those are my thoughts.
I'm intrigued. I
kind of want to do this draft.
I want to do Madrid, to be honest.
That's the game I hope. And I hope it's
Granted, I hope the Dolphins are actually good. They start out, if the Dolphins start out good, like they typically do, I think it could make for a good matchup.
Yeah. The mayor of Madrid recently revealed that this game will be played in November.
Okay.
A November trip to Madrid, Anthony?
Not too shabby.
Our budget is limited. I understand. We might just have to. I say we have this draft next.
All right, let's do it.
All right, primetime game draft next on the Hoffman Show. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. So here is what we're going to do. Anthony and I are going to have a very quick draft here, and there are consequences in that eventually one of us is going to be proven right or wrong. The goal here, Anthony, is to accumulate as many points as possible by correctly predicting which games of the Commanders are going to be in prime time in 2025. So, we haven't done this in a while. Come on. Do it. There it goes. Oh, yeah. You want the first pick or you want the second pick?
Let me get the second pick, actually. 2 is a great number.
Okay, that's a very weird thing because if they have 5 games and I correctly guessed the first 3, then you just gave yourself absolutely no chance.
Well, hold on, Craig. I didn't do the math.
That's your fault. You should have been more prepared. All right. First up, I think that and it should be mentioned that for the divisional games, we're going to have to pick home or away. I think that the Commanders game, oh my God, home against Detroit is going to be in prime time. That's my number 1 pick. Are you writing this down, or do you need me to write it down?
I'm writing it down.
Okay. I'm gonna also get a place to write it down just so I can not double pick. But for my first pick, Commanders home against Detroit.
All right.
We don't have a lot of time, Anthony. This has got to be a fast draft.
All right, here we go. Well, I'm going to predict the Commanders versus Chiefs will be in prime time.
That feels like a safe bet.
Yes, sir.
I think we've probably just gotten 2 of the 5.
Is that one away?
That one is away, so that's at Kansas City. All right. I am gonna go in the. I'm going to go with the Commanders game away at Philadelphia is going to be in prime time. I think there's definitely a chance it's a week 1 rematch that the Commanders open the NFL season at Philadelphia. Do I get a bonus point if I get that exactly right?
No.
Okay. I just was asking.
My second game, I'm going to go. I got a strong feeling we're going to be in Madrid, Craig. So I'm going to go. Is that away or home?
That's technically an away game.
Away at Miami in
All
Madrid.
Right. So to recap so far, now that I have my tablet out and I can write, I have home versus Detroit. I have away at Philly. Right?
Yep.
And I have, which was the other one that I said?
You only have 2 so far.
Oh, and then you have.
I have away at Kansas City, and then also away at Miami.
And we're counting international games as prime time, even though technically they're not prime time. But we're counting that, which would also be my next question. Thanksgiving, no matter the time of kickoff, counts as prime time, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. At Dallas.
You stole one.
I think the Commanders are going to be playing on Thanksgiving this year. They haven't done it in a while. It's an easy way for the Commanders or them to do it.
So right now, I'm not going to lie, Craig. The games we picked are all the way.
I've got home versus Detroit. I got home versus Detroit.
Yeah, that's it.
There's some other ones on there that I think are good prime candidates.
Okay, we'll see. Do I keep going?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're picking all this. We're going to pick until every game is gone. Although I guess one of them is going to be the last game on the board because there's a 17-game schedule. I'm not going to give myself an extra game. So there'll be one wild card game. Watch that one be in prime time.
Okay. I'm going to go. I'm going to go home against the Broncos. Prime time.
I think that's a really, really good pick. I think the Bo Nix and the teams being good, I think they're going to try to match that up. With that said, God, there's so many intriguing storylines for the season. I think home against Chicago is a lock. I'm actually kind of surprised it lasted this long. I think the Caleb Jaden rematch, the rematch. I mean, the NFL's VP of future broadcast planning just said, or the VP of broadcast planning just said that's one of his low-key favorite games. So it feels like that's almost a cheat code.
It's also because it was in Northwest Field last year as well.
Yeah. So the home, the rematch. I think there's a good chance that one's. Maybe it's a 4:05 game again, but it's probably a primetime game.
I was really asleep at the wheel on that. I should have did that one.
I've got like 3 more A games that I'm like, I feel pretty good about these. I think. Oh, actually, no, maybe 4. Maybe 5. Just your turn.
I'm gonna go away against the Packers.
That's a good one. That's definitely one. I feel like that's gonna be like a Week 16 game that could be flexed.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the play on that one. I think that I'm between 2. I'm going to go away at Atlanta. I think the Penix rematch and the fact that was the game, like that was a primetime game last year to clinch the division. I think that one, the only problem is I don't know that one is going to be, we might have to revisit that in December. When the schedule comes out, I might be up a creek on that one. That might be a potential flex game.
Okay. So for my next game, and I'm thinking it's going to be flex as well, divisional game in December, I'm going away at Dallas.
I've already got that one because that's the Thanksgiving game in my head.
Oh, no. All right, I'm going to go home against Dallas.
Okay. So I'm also going to go divisional game. This one scares me that this is going to be Week 18, and then I don't know what to do with that in our point system because they don't announce Week 18 game times. But I'm going to go home against Philly. Again, if you're just tuning in, the point of this is we are trying to guess the Commanders' primetime games based off of recent comments by NFL VP of Future Broadcasting, or VP of Broadcast Planning on our Buffalo Bills sister podcast or cousin podcast because it's April 9th, and that's what we're doing on April 9th.
Great explanation.
Thanks, Anthony.
I'm going to go for my next pick away at Minnesota. I was torn between the Green Bay, Minnesota
now you got both of them.
But I think this is the best available.
So I think the clear next best available game is the Chargers. So I'm going to go at LAC. I have a chance that I get Week 1 at Sao Paulo, but there's also a chance that is just a pure primetime game. That feels like a Monday Night Football game kind of matchup. So remaining, we have
the Giants.
2 Giants games, the Raiders, the Seahawks, and the Dolphins. No, you already took the Dolphins. So all the away games, I think, have been taken, except for the Giants.
I think I'm going to take home against the Seahawks.
No chance.
I don't really like it.
Honestly, I'm going to go. Which New York game do I want? I'm going to go home against New York. Sometimes they do like a wacky Thursday night Week 2 bit. That could be that. I also could see like you want to know what actually is a sneaky great thing that you did that you didn't even realize you were doing? Minnesota or Green Bay could play Detroit on Thanksgiving, and then they do the switcheroo the next week.
Yes, sir.
You know, they do the back-to-back Thursdays where the Cowboys will host the Commanders, and the Commanders play either the Packers or the Vikings, whoever played the Lions on Thanksgiving. That's probably going to happen.
Yep.
Dang, you didn't even mean to do that.
I didn't.
All right, I should get a point for that.
Last game, I'm going to choose home against the Raiders.
All right, so you're going home against Las Vegas, which means at New York is the lone game that doesn't get claimed here. So at New York Giants. All right, when the schedule comes out, we'll revisit this, and we'll see who accumulates the most points. And does the loser have to spin the wheel of mediocre punishment, Anthony? Are we going to bring it back? Or is this purely for pride?
That's not a bad suggestion.
I think we might spin the wheel of mediocre punishment. We'll have to put some new things on it because there's no fantasy football right now, and amongst other things. Also, we still have to do our ice baths. I think the place that was going to open downstairs didn't wind up actually coming through, so we're going to have to revisit that. Coming up next, you know who's reliable, who never doesn't show up? Dave Johnson. Dave joins us from Capital One Arena next. Dave Johnson with us from the broadcast booth. Dave, hello. How are you, sir? Welcome back to D.C. after your trip to Indianapolis.
Yeah, and welcome back for 24 hours. We get on a plane tomorrow to go to Chicago, where we're going to finish up the season, Chicago and Miami. But listen, I'm feeling great today.
Tell me more.
Well, let me tell you. I knew you were going to ask me, so I'll tell you more why I'm feeling great. First of all, I met two young girls. They were doing a lung cancer or cancer fundraiser. They were from Baltimore. They were shooting 1,000 threes. And young girls named Sophie Zirkin and Emma Zirkin. One is going on to play college basketball at Dickinson. Emma is a freshman at a high school in Baltimore. They're just terrific because they did over, you ready for this, over 36 hours, they did 10,000 three-pointers. Not made, but took 10,000 three-pointers. They started yesterday at 7 in the morning. They did it earlier today at the University of Maryland Xfinity Center, and then they finished up here at Capital One Arena. So I love seeing the young people get out, and they're trying to make a difference and raise some money. It's in honor of their grandmother, sadly, lost her battle with cancer a few years ago. Another reason why I'm feeling great, and we were talking just a couple hours ago, 24 hours maybe, in Indiana,
right,
when it was so loud. And the Pacers, remember, they scored 162 points on the Wizards. The Pacers, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, last night, they're battling for a playoff position, home court advantage. The Wizards built a 16-point first-half lead, a 14-point second-half lead. I understand, lost at the end. But when we talk about growth and development, what do you want to see from a team? A response. I know, look, the season's almost over, but make no mistake, they said, you know what? I know we're on the road in Indiana, but we're going to have more of a physical presence to start the game and make life difficult for the Indiana Pacers. And they did. And quite frankly, Alex Sarr and his defense led the charge in setting that tone. So these are the details that you look for in this season. Do you learn from previous mistakes? Are you getting better in certain areas? Where we're seeing Alex Sarr make moves that he wasn't making earlier in the season. And why is that? Because the NBA obviously is the best league in the world. So guess what? And you know this, everyone knows this. You can't get away with just being athletic. You've got to be smart. So, yeah, he could jump over everyone. But you know what? You've got to be crafty because the guy defending you, and like last night in Indiana, when we're talking about experienced guys, like Miles Turner going up against him, you're not going to get away with things. Justin Champagnie, at the start of the season, didn't have an NBA contract. He went nose-to-nose last night with Pascal Siakam. Those are the things that we celebrate. One day we want to be celebrating playoffs and championships. We don't want a season to end in early April. But to get there, we have to have these moments, plain and simple.
No doubt. And there is, I guess I'll put it this way, Dave. There are some strategic choices being made when it comes to the lineups and who plays and when that are certainly influencing some of these. Or for instance, specifically last night, Wizards build that early lead with Jordan Poole on the floor. And in the second half, Jordan Poole is basically nowhere to be found. And I think we've seen at times this year that when the Wizards have, let's say, two bona fide NBA players with experience on the floor, it completely changes the dynamic of these games. When you have Jordan Poole and Chris Middleton or Marcus Smart or Kyle earlier in the year, and the offense can flow a little bit more through some guys who have some NBA minutes racked, and the communication is obviously happening at a higher and different level. If a guy like a Chris Middleton is out there, it's just different. And not to pick on, for instance, JT Thor, who's had some really nice moments here over the last couple of weeks coming up from the go-go. But, like, he's a minus 30 last night. They're putting him out there to get the experience, and the results are the results. And we also know the math of the standings and the lottery odds and what happens if they don't win and how far they can fall. And Utah's given up 140 points in 3 straight games and is clearly running as fast as they can to the bottom, meaning there is no margin for quote-unquote error for the Wizards. So I think it's worth pointing out, too, that when we talk about some of these really encouraging stretches, it's with much more of the team that we hope to see moving forward versus some guys who are getting valuable minutes that are basically Capital City go-go players, and maybe some of them maintain in the way that Champagnie has. But the Wizards, I think, are doing this. I'll avoid the T word here, but they're doing it the long-term development in the right way.
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, it's a situation. You mentioned JT Thor. The win over the Sacramento Kings. What happened late in that game? JT Thor makes a three-pointer.
Huge shots.
And Tristan Vukcevic makes a stop. Last night, late in the game, Kobe Jones misses a runner in the lane. A good shot. If he makes that shot, it may be a different ending. It's a game. The game was that close. It's a game of fine margin. So what did happen, or what you expected to happen, is the team with more experience made the clutch shots, if you will, down the stretch. But you know what? What was also encouraging, the fourth quarter. Those players you mentioned were getting the time, and the game was not out of reach until it went down right to the final minute. So do you want to win the game, or do you want to develop players? But you need players out there like a Jordan Poole earlier in the game to help the team along. A Marcus Smart made a difference in that win over the Sacramento Kings, if I remember correctly. So it is a calculated balance, and I'm not avoiding the T word. What I'm saying is, this was the Pacers. It was every game in their mind is a must-win down the stretch to secure that fourth spot. No secret, it's not a must-win for the Wizards. But unlike, I don't want to call out other teams, but the minute you say you don't want to do something, you're doing it. So, I see what when Utah came in here, and they're just resting everybody. The Wizards, yes, they've done some of that, but not to the degree that I've seen other teams do it. The point is they've had. They realize that you're not going to get better as a culture, as a team, unless you are competitive, and that's the goal. And so last night they were competitive, and they were, would it have been a different story if Marcus Smart had played, or if they've been fully healthy? Maybe, but maybe not. But the important thing to me is that you look at that game, you look at the numbers, and what was, and plus minus is a thing you can debate until the end of time. But it was a game where I walked away. I started this interview saying feeling great, because you know what I thought, that shows the pride with these guys have. They remember they were beaten 162 points. The Pacers just came off a win over the Nuggets. They got the coach of the Nuggets fired, for goodness sakes. Believe me, you had to be in that arena to feel the anxiety of those fans. The first quarter, and the Wizards had a 35-19 lead or whatever, and I know the fans are saying, now our Pacers are going to come and knock them out. No. Tied at 48. Yeah, the Pacers made a run in the second quarter. Now it comes after halftime. The Pacers are saying, here we go, third quarter, and this has been a problem. No, it didn't happen. The Wizards were better on the boards last night, which is why they lost the game in Boston. Again, this is there is a plan to how they're playing players, how they're using them, and what minutes they're putting in. It's not just. I think sometimes the perception, it might be, okay, we've got only 16 or 17 wins. I don't even know what we have in terms of wins, but that we're just kind of throwing a ball out there and seeing what happens. No, it is calculated in terms of, how they play, who plays what. Keyshawn George is going to start tonight again, as he was back from 7 games. They didn't want him to end the season injured. Bilal Coulibaly sadly will not be back. But fortunately, that injury was not as serious as we first feared when it happened in Toronto. But they're gonna scrap tonight against this Philadelphia 76ers team, and they're gonna, believe me, they're gonna try to win it. They were trying to win last night. And there's no question. You're absolutely correct when you see certain players not playing in fourth quarter situations. They're not putting themselves in the best position to win, but they're putting themselves in a best position to develop. What can these guys do under pressure? You're only going to find out when they're facing that pressure. So that, like last night, did not equal a win. By all rights, the Wizards actually should have upset the Pacers last night. If you look at the numbers, I think the Pacers ended up winning the game shooting in the 30s.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, I would much rather be in the situation that Washington is in, if you want to use the T word in tanking, but being in competitive game situations where my players are getting experience than whatever the hell Utah is doing right now, where they're giving up 140 points every night and haven't seen a close fourth quarter in a month.
And what you said is absolutely correct. But that's the difference. The Wizards, we do see close games because of the way they're trying to, Brian Keefe right away calls timeouts, doesn't care what the score is. It's about, okay, we're going to get to where we're going to get to if we take care of details along the journey every way. And that's not just PR fluff, but you feel it with the amount of work that these guys put in. And this is all done transparently. Again, this was what Will Dawkins said at the start of the season. We knew at the start of the season that it was not going to be about wins and losses. But can you say that this team is playing better than it was in November? I would certainly assert they are. Yeah. And so that's what and do you feel like you have a core, if you're a Wizards fan, that you can go forward with? And do you have assets that may or may not be here in the future, but you can only get something of value in return if you've got something of value? And, case in point, it's not that they gave up on Denny Avdia, but if you're going to get something, they judge the value they were getting in that trade. And like all trades, they're evaluated 5 years down the road, how it worked for each team. But it is a more complex business. And I know you know this, than just saying, all right, we're going to lose and then see what happens. Because, and that's as we did our all-cast tonight, and I know I'm long-winded, but I only had 3 hours sleep because we got in late from Indiana last night. But, think of two players, Alex Sarr and Justin Champagnie, that we're talking about on the television portion of the radio party tonight. That shows where this team is going. They drafted well, second overall. Justin Champagnie didn't have an NBA contract at the start of the season. So two things have to be happening within your organization. You have to be smart in drafting, and then you have to develop players.
100%. And then the last part is you got to eventually get lucky, because the superstars in this sport are not guys that typically come out of nowhere. Like, okay, if you get a Giannis or a Jokic, sick. But even Luka International, like, everybody knew Luka Doncic was going to be this good. Why he didn't go number one overall is still a mystery to me. But obviously we'll find that out in mid-May with the draft lottery and Cooper Flagg waiting out there potentially for whoever wins it. And we'll see if the Wizards can get lucky. And maybe there's some karma for them kind of doing, yes, they're doing what they're doing, but they're doing it the right way. And I think this team is due for some good luck. Dave?
Yeah, and Mitch, real quick, the other part of luck is health.
Yeah, also
Believe
true.
Me, I do a dance every day that everybody stays healthy, because we've lived through too much of that.
No doubt about it, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. Dave, appreciate the time as always, sir. Enjoy the game tonight. Try to remember which teams are playing and all that on the sleep. Remember, it's up on the big scoreboard in front of you in case you need it. I know no lack of sleep can be a little disorienting. So you have fun, and then we'll talk to you for one final time on Friday, unless we do a season-ending bit sometime next week.
Always look forward to being on the Hoffman Show.
I always look forward to having you. Thank you, sir. That's Dave Johnson with us here on the Team 980. When we get back, it's basically going to be time for real things, real people sitting in real microphones. We'll also look ahead to Luka Doncic's return to Dallas tonight. But first, the latest on the world of women's sports, presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you wanna at Wawa, with customizable, roasted, and crispy chicken sandwiches. see what you did here, Anthony.
Yes, sir.
There is bad blood in Dallas. But between whomst? That is the fun part. Oh, Anthony's really getting after it. I was looking at something else, and all of a sudden I look back at the screen where I can see you, and I was like, "Whoa, Anthony's bounce." Was that the Kendrick Lamar remix of the Taylor Swift song?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Like it.
that's a thing that exists. In case anyone's wondering, has there ever been a collab between Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift? The answer is yes. It's the Bad Blood remix,
Yes, sir.
which I think confuses both fan bases.
I mean, sometimes you gotta, switch it up.
Yeah, I appreciate good music where it's at.
Do you
Whatever.
think we'll ever get a Beyonce and Taylor Swift collab?
I feel like
spicy.
if it was gonna happen, Cowboy Carter would have been a great place for it.
Perfect place, actually.
There's a lot of thoughts that Beyonce's next album is going to be a rock album, which would not necessarily lend itself to Taylor Swift, but also maybe. I think eventually we'll get something.
Okay.
If I'm Taylor, I also am trying to get Beyonce on my album,
True.
as opposed to Beyonce getting Taylor on her album.
I think the former is more likely.
Taylor asking B to come on her. Yeah. I think that's the right.
Yeah.
Taylor's the more junior of the two artists.
Uh-huh.
So she should be like, Beyonce, I would like to invite you to my home. If you will.
And that whatever song that is, record of the year, no question.
Certainly going to have the most downloads, listens, and that also will. I want to say anger. It will also mystify both certain sects of both fan base, the Swifties and the Beehive.
Yeah,
who sometimes like to fight each other.
This is very true.
Yeah, but whatever. Nationals are. Come on, any scoreboard. Now trailing 6-5, bottom of the 8th. Anthony, here's what we need. We need this 9th inning to last until we're off the air and safely in our vehicles that are taking us home so that we don't get caught in traffic.
Hey, you ain't lying, brother, man.
I do not want the end of a baseball game coinciding with me leaving work. Oh, that's not going to help. Oh.
No.
The Nationals just got
There's one more inning then. Hopefully this one lasts like 10
picked off
minutes.
to end the 8th inning. Ugh. All right, well, they're going to have a top of the 9th, which hopefully will take a while but yield no runs, and then a bottom of the 9th where the Nationals will come back and win. Or perhaps force extra innings. Then we're really safe. That's what we're really rooting for, Anthony, is we're looking for extra innings.
I like the way you think, sir.
Then we can go home and watch.
Yes, sir.
Play 14. Why not? Why not? Nats are off tomorrow. Dodgers are probably off, and they're getting away somewhere. So give us some extras. Everybody get home safely. All right. Tonight, Luka Doncic returns to Dallas. This is the first time, right, that he's playing in Dallas since the trade?
Yeah, first time in Dallas, but he's played against Dallas already.
Right. I believe Nico Harrison is not going to be in the building, the Mavericks GM. There was arrival footage I saw earlier on my buddy Mike Leslie's page that Luka's already there. He's giving people hugs, and he had 1 million cameras and lights and stuff following him in. I would assume the reception tonight, like Luka didn't want to leave. So I presume the reception tonight is very Luka friendly. My question is, how awkward is it going to be for like the current Mavs team? Right? Because it's still ultimately their home team. They want to see the team win. But, like, I feel like on some level, there is a large group of Mavs fans that are probably going to see it as their mission to make the game uncomfortable for Mavericks ownership and Mavericks brass, which might involve legitimately just cheering for the Lakers. Now, as someone who has been to a lot of Mavs games, because that was the team I covered most heavily when I worked there, I remember the days when, and look, like the Mavs were good when I was there. But there was still, like there is here, a ton of Lakers fans anyway. But it would not surprise me one iota tonight, Anthony, if this is basically a Lakers home game, to stick it to the Mavs ownership and the Mavs players. That sucks for you, but you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, what do those Lakers fans do with the shirts that, Dallas's ownership is giving out? They put out shirts that say thank you for everything in Slovenian for Luka tonight. So.
That's nice. They probably take them home. Maybe they even wear them. But like, it's also like there's a big possession late. Are they chanting defense as the Mavs have the ball?
Yeah, I don't know.
So there's going to be that. Are they also going to get, I think they're doing a video.
Yep.
Like, who? It's just so awkward because of what they did on the way out. Like, I think, oh, we're concerned about this. We're concerned about that. It's like, thank you for everything you did, but also we traded you for this reason. And like, the good thing I think for Luka is there's no doubt there's going to be nothing but love from the fans. Because Luka, it's not even like, is there a situation where Klay Thompson could have stayed in Golden State and ultimately Klay decided to sign in Dallas? Sure, I guess. Are there plenty of times where maybe a player forces a trade, but some group of fans understands? Yes. Luka was as surprised about this as literally anyone. There is no one in the Mavs fan base that is like, this is Luka's fault. Now, maybe they're like, I wish he was more in shape, whatever, that guy. I'm sure there's some idiot somewhere in Dallas is like, that guy was actually a bum. And like, okay, but then you're happy that you traded him. And you're like, hey, man, thanks for getting us to the finals, you bum. Thanks for being the third best player in the league for like 5 straight years, you bum. And it's like, okay, I'm glad you can hear yourself say this out loud. I wish the thoughts and the words would make sense in your brain and process properly. Your listening comprehension to your own thoughts is clearly very poor. But like, what is the circumstance where any Mavs fan would be mad at Luka? I think that he's going to get a raucous ovation, as he should. And the question is then, what else do Mavs fans have planned for Mavs management? And also, what kind of anti-Nico Harrison chants happen?
He should be in the building, dog.
He's kind of a coward.
Stand on business, dog. You made the decision. Sit there and watch the game. Like,
I mean, make an appearance. If you want to disappear and go down and watch in the locker room for the second half, fine. But like, you gotta be somewhere at some point. But I guess that's just not how he rolls.
I guess not.
So
think the Lakers win? Think Luka goes for 30, 40, 50?
Well, that's the other part, right? Does Luka just have a revenge? Like, does LeBron
crazy
and Reeves and all those guys, and does JJ just go like, hey man, you want to score 60 tonight for fun?
Yeah.
But I mean, the problem is this is also a huge game in the standings.
Yeah, they need to win.
Every game is a huge game in the standings. The Lakers currently have a 1-game lead over the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Grizzlies. So depending on how other things go tonight, they could end tonight. Let's see. I know Golden State plays tonight. They're currently the 6th seed. I believe Denver plays Sacramento tonight. The Clippers play tonight. I think Memphis plays tonight too. So if all those teams win and the Lakers lose, now you're in tiebreaker with all of them, and I don't know exactly where that's going to land them, but clearly farther down. The Mavs, by the way, are trying to hold off Phoenix, so it's also a big game for them. They're probably good. I think if they win tonight, they actually might eliminate Phoenix because most teams have – the Mavs are 3 games up, and I think they probably have 3 to play. Checking that real quick. Yeah, they got 3 to play. So if they win tonight, then they eliminate Phoenix and clinch a playoff spot.
Dude, that Bill trade, man.
Whew. Not good.
Not good.
Who told you that at the time, Anthony?
What'd you say?
Who said like don't sweat losing Beal?
You?
That Jordan Poole will wind up being a better player quickly.
Mr. Craig Hoffman.
And it's not like the Wizards have been great, but that's been on purpose. But thank God, like Will Dawkins didn't get enough in the trade. Oh, you mean for the guy that's not that good anymore and has a no trade clause? Good job, Will. Excellent work out of you.
Real things.
We're not going to suck this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, first things first on Fox Sports 1 isn't a good television show. Most of those shows are fairly terrible, but occasionally they do give us some good content. And this line from Joy Taylor had Keyshawn Johnson and Will Blackman, my pal Will Blackman, in stitches / confusion, which also led to a double punchline from Paul Pierce.
I mean, he could sell a ketchup lollipop to a woman with white gloves every single time. He is out here saying he's going to change, and every single time he does the same thing. So the Steelers deserve this. Ketchups, white gloves.
Yeah, I got it. I know what it is. I can tell that was looking like they didn't get it. No, I got it.
Did I say it too fast?
100% got it. No, we got it. 100%.
They was looking like the black Beavis and Butthead over there. I can tell. It looked like it.
It was so damn stupid, man.
It was like,
Oh my goodness!
I saw that over there.
The black Beavis and Butthead that's hilarious.
Craig,
You saw the looks on their faces too on that when you were watching the clip, right?
Yeah. I don't get it though.
What do you mean you don't get it?
I don't get it.
You don't get the original line?
No.
A ketchup lollipop. What's like messy ketchup,
Yes.
red,
Yes.
to a woman with white gloves.
Yeah.
It would get all over the gloves.
Okay.
So
is that.
If Will's Beavis and Key is Butthead, what does that make you?
The trash can. Or the bush. I don't know. It's pretty straightforward, though.
Yeah. That's our radio show. We'll see you tomorrow. Wizards basketball is next.